Hello, everyone. This is Jim Biringer here, NHLRumors.com. Please subscribe to the channel, like this video, comment as well. We're back with another Rumors video. NHL training camps underway, preseason hockey underway. It's been an eventful training camp. The lull of the offseason is gone. A lot of things are picking up steam. Again, everybody's talking about Quinn Hughes. Where's he going to go next year? That decision hasn't even been close to being made, and it probably won't be made until next summer. Everybody's talking about Connor McDavid. Where's he going to go? Then you got the other 97, 2.0 out in Minnesota. We're looking at the RFAs, Luke Hughes, Luke Evangelista, Mason McTavish. There's a lot of storylines. Oh, by the way, a lot of noise coming out of Pittsburgh about what Malkin said with Crosby, all that. And that'll be for another video later on in the week when we talk about that stuff. But let's get down and dirty. Let's talk about it. Let's kick things off. Let's start in Minnesota. Kirill Kaprizov. Everybody knows the deal. Feels like it's the never-ending story, similar to what we have with the Arizona Coyotes for years and years. Will they or won't they relocate? Will they or won't they fold? Well, will he or won't he sign an extension in Minnesota? The belief is he still will. The owner wants to pay him whatever he wants. The GM wants to sign him. Bill Guerin is not talking through the media and is not going to negotiate through the media. As someone told me, if a party declines a statement that's been made, like we saw, he declined an 8-year deal, $128 million, $16 million AAV, and it's been declined all around, it usually means it was presented and something did happen. The 8 years for Kaprizov is a little much, and I think he wants to see if the Minnesota Wild can truly be a contender in the National Hockey League. They haven't gotten past the first round in a long time. Every time they get into the playoffs, they perform well up until Game 5, and then they kind of fade. They need to get past the first round of the playoffs. They need to make a deep run, and this could take all season. It's not going to happen during the beginning of the year training camp. I mean, it could. One phone call with all these things can change, and everybody can be happy. But it feels more and more like Kaprizov could take a 2-3 year deal, maybe a 4-year deal at most in Minnesota, because he wants to see what this team can be, and he's going to put pressure on management. Now, he's not going to take Marian Hossa deal, 1-year deal, as suggested on TSN 690 in the summer. We saw Hossa for how many years jump around teams chasing a cup before he settled in Chicago. And there's too much injury risk too, right? You don't want to just sign a 1-year deal and then you get hurt. 2-3 year deal, some comfortability. Again, maximize the value as the cap goes up. And we always hear about this 20% of the cap, even if the cap goes up, but players want to win. And that's always been the sacrifice, right? In the National Hockey League with hockey players, we do what's best for the team. And Kaprizov wants his money, but he also knows he has to do what's best for the team, because then the team can't operate. And that's how the Connor McDavid thing is kind of playing out in Edmonton. And we'll get to him in a minute. But Kaprizov, it feels like he could get whatever he wants from Minnesota because he's a blank check guy. We've heard, he could go to Carolina. Again, not sold. Talking to some people, not sold. Carolina is actually going to open up the checkbook to a guy like Kaprizov. We've seen it in the past. Tom Dundon hasn't really wanted to play top players to be there. Mitch Marner was linked. Was he really going to pay him? Nikolai Ehlers kind of fell under Aho. Aho makes the most money there. Are they willing to go over what Aho makes? Not really sure. The GM could say, hey, we want to bring this player in. But again, Mikko Rantanen didn't stay. And if Carolina were to trade for Kaprizov, they're not going to pay him over 12 sheets, right? They're not going to pay him over 12 million, right? They're not going to do it. Mikko Rantanen wasn't going to stay. And again, I think the owner, if they're going to make that trade, has to have guarantees and an extension is in place. He's not going to allow Tulsky to make the same mistake twice, trading for a player on an expiring deal and not having a contract in place. So that kind of rules out there. I think it's Minnesota. I think it could be a short-term deal, maybe a 4-year deal max, but you could get $16 to $18 million, somewhere between there, because that's how Minnesota values him. He's their most important player in franchise history. So we'll see what happens in Minnesota. It's kind of tied to, 97 in Edmonton. Again, all status quo with him. He's just taking his time and wants to see what the options are. He is putting pressure on Stan Bowman and that management. Don't think he doesn't know what happened last year with the offer sheets to Philip Broberg and Dylan Holloway. Again, they could talk about best practice. in a long, long time. Stuart Skinner's trimmed down. They're not going to bring in a goaltender. This is the team they believe in. That's all well and good, but they got to perform. They got to add pieces around McDavid, Draisaitl, Bouchard, Nurse, all those guys. They got to see what the depth scoring is going to be like for 97 to stay. Again, losing Broberg, Holloway, not good. You lost Perry. You moved out Kane. This team is not the same team that lost in Game 7 to the Florida Panthers in 2024. They're not even the same team that they were last year when they made the Stanley Cup final. It's going to be hard to pull a Buffalo Bills, go 3 straight to the Stanley Cup final. It's really hard. Florida's looking to do it. It's really, really hard. I mean, Buffalo Bills, NFL, 4 straight Super Bowls, they all lost. But that's a really impressive feat. He wants to win in Edmonton, get into a similar situation with Kaprizov in Minnesota. I think it's going to be a short-term deal, 4-year max, and then we'll see what happens. Go from there, put pressure on management to get players in here. Isaac Howard looks really good in Edmonton. Matthew Sauvé is looking pretty good. So let's see if they have the depth there. But again, I don't think McDavid's going to break the bank. He wants fair value, but he also knows they got to build a team. Again, biggest mistake Jeff Jackson made was letting Ken Holland go and not having a general manager in place come July 1st a couple of years ago. That was a bad decision. Actually, it was last year. So again, we'll see what happens in Edmonton, but the noise is kind of settled down. The focus is on the ice because these teams do not want to have a distraction moving forward. I think McDavid's getting tired of talking about it because it's every day it's the same question, and he's going to give the same answer. And there's confidence from Bowman that it's going to get done, and same with Jeff Jackson. So I don't think there's a worry. Everybody else is talking about it and making a big deal about it. What is concerning is guys like Luke Evangelista, Mason McTavish, not in training camp, similar for Luke Hughes in New Jersey. It's an issue because now it's affecting preseason games. It's affecting how long they're going to be out, right? They're all holdouts. And McTavish and Evangelista could last longer than Luke Hughes. Luke Hughes and the New Jersey Devils are looking for a long-term extension. I've reported this for our sister site, devilsnation.com. Same on NHLRumors.com. They've been looking for a long-term extension. That's what they want to do. Tom Fitzgerald continues to say Luke Hughes is a priority. But again, the market. Brock Favors at $8.5 million. We see Jake Sanderson at $8.05 million. Where do they settle? Because the Devils are working with an internal cap. Yes, the salary cap is at $95.5. But yes, Kovacevic can go on LTIR, but it's only $3.8 million. You still got to make a tough decision despite what the general manager says about not moving players and making trades. They still have to make a decision. Dougie Hamilton isn't going anywhere. So let's throw that one out there. What about Palat? What about Dawson Mercer? I think it's Mercer. I think he is the odd man out eventually because the money has to work and the math doesn't math in New Jersey. Especially if Luke Hughes wants over $8 million and they want to get a long-term deal done. But again, if this bleeds into the regular season, which is the next big marker, what's going to happen? Like, you can't let it go on that long because then it affects the team. That it also affects the player, risk of injury. You saw what happened in Anaheim. We've seen what happened last year with Boston. The longer these things go on, William Nylander in Toronto, the longer these things go on, it's a bad sign for both parties. And the Devils have expectations to get to the playoffs, make a deep run. They still want to sign Jacob Markstrom to extension. There's so many other factors. How do they add to the top 6? What do they add to this roster? Where do they find the cap space? Everybody could say they're spending to the cap. They're not spending to the cap. Poor management of contracts and decision-making led to them being up against the cap. There's a difference. They want their core under a certain amount of dollars, similar to what we see in Montreal, similar to see with the good teams. Give the core value contracts, and you can build the team around them that can be successful to win. This is where the difficulty lies with Luke Hughes and the New Jersey Devils. Everybody agrees it's a long-term deal. We're just not getting to the money. And that's where the grind is. Devils want it under 8. He wants it over 8. Got to meet in the middle somewhere. That's what continues to be the deal. And they don't want to go over $8 million. And where does Quinn Hughes fit into this thing? If Luke Hughes, with what Jack Hughes said about being a number 1 defenseman, wanting number 1 power play time, he's not going to fit in. And then, again, it might be an ego thing too. Again, something not being reported. If Luke wants to be the number 1 defenseman and it's his blue line, the number one left shot defenseman, going to have to take a back seat and take a pay cut. Not sure he wants to do that if his brother's coming. So that's something to keep an eye on there. Again, McTavish went home, practiced with Ottawa 67s. We saw this with Trevor Zegras. We saw this with Jamie Drysdale. It affected the Anaheim Ducks. Everything looks really good for the Ducks right now under Joel Quenneville, but it hurts not to have that player there. But again, there's uncertainty with his role when it comes to Joel Quenneville. Where's he going to be? You know, the Ducks want a long-term deal, but McTavish wants a long-term deal, and their definitions are wrong. Verbeekmore wants like a mid-range type bridge deal, 4 or 5 years. Player wants 7-8 years. Player wants 7-8 million. Team wants around 5.5 million. And maybe he ends up getting the Trevor Zegras deal as reported on NHLRumors.com. For, you know, that's what, you know, McTavish could get, a 5-year deal around 5.75 million, maybe 6 comes in there. He wants certainty, and he wants cost certainty that's going to be used. If not, we're going to be looking at another situation where is Mason McTavish a Pat Verbeek guy? Is he a Joel Quenneville guy? Right now, we're leaning towards, hey, he's in the Trevor Zegras court category of he's not that type of guy for what the Anaheim Ducks want to do, but they're not taking calls on him. They don't want to trade him. But at some point, it's going to get to that point, and maybe it gets to the point of he's still eligible for an offer sheet. Does somebody swoop in, but nobody wants to give up that 2026 first-round draft pick knowing Gavin McKenna is coming? Similar situation in Nashville. Luke Evangelista, he's out, right? He's gone back to Canada. Seems like they're working on a 2-year deal, but the money and cost certainty, right? What's his role in Nashville? He's seen all these young guys go, Dante Fabros, the Tomasinos, guys like that, get traded, put on waivers, gone to other teams, and be successful and be the players that they were supposed to be. Luke Evangelista is a part of this future for the Nashville Predators. He needs to be in camp and needs to be on this roster and used the right way. If he's not going to be used the right way, he's going to ask for a trade soon, and he's going to be out the door. And he's going to be successful elsewhere. Ellie Tolvin in another case in Seattle. Again, mismanagement of young players, and now they see what's happened with other players on the team, and they're like, hey, wait a minute, what's my role? What's my certainty on this team? How is I'm going to be used? So again, factors into these negotiations. Which do I feel like I'm going to get paid? So something to watch moving forward here in regards to this. Also, in addition, Carter Hart's out there. Does he go to Carolina? That's a team that he's connected to. Michael McLeod's been connected to the Carolina Hurricanes as well. We'll see if teams pull the trigger. Is it a Slava Voinov situation where he was eligible to return after charges were dismissed, but everybody's like, nah, we don't want that. Similar with these guys. Carter Hart doesn't want to go to Edmonton, doesn't want to go to Philly. He's not going to Vegas. He's not going to Utah. Well, soon opportunity where you can play and win start to dwindle because these teams have their goaltending set based on injury. Edmonton would have made the most sense. None of these guys are going back to Canada to play. As much as Vancouver could use him, right? Michael McLeod would be great in New Jersey. They could use that player. Not going to bring him back. So are these guys, and none of them are playing in Canada, like I said. Where are the opportunities? There's few and far between, and each passing day, as we get close to that October 15th deadline, we'll see what happens. Again, it was Carolina, and it's not many other teams that are out there for these players because I think a lot of them don't want the PR backlash. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Again, this is Jim Biringer, NHLRumors.com. Please subscribe to the channel. Click the like button. We'll be back for another Rumors video later in the week. Take care and enjoy.